Story number. The first story is like this. You go through a place called prison. The first thing they try to do to you is they try to make you feel down. Try to make you feel different than anybody else, like the down. What they do first thing, put you on prison clothes, right? So prison clothes is meant to make you different than anybody else. And if you think about it, then thank God I learned in Yeshiva and I understood what we're doing, so I try to do those things to not to fall into that trap. So when they make you put on prison clothes, what it's really telling you is now you're somebody else. You're a prisoner, and the prisoners act like this. And a lot of people they fall into this, and suddenly because clothes has a big effect on you. So therefore, the story with the yarmulke and tzitzis actually works the other way around also, because I realized by me wearing my yarmulke and tzitzis would have the better effect on me. Remind me who I am. Remind me that I'm not alone. That Hashem is with me even in the darkest of places. And my job is to remain connected to Hashem to do what Hashem wants me to do, and trusting Him will get me out. That's really what I always live with these three letters: Aleph, Bais, and Gimel. You heard this, right? Everybody knows Aleph, Bais, Gimel. Aleph is Emunah, Bais is Bitachon, and Gimel is Geula. If you have Emunah, Bitachon, Geula. So the first experience I had was a rough experience where I didn't have imagined it to be, but Hashem knew that by giving me this rough experience, I would get energized. I would actually. A lot of times we go through in life, we have bad experiences, and we think, that bad experience we had, if we wouldn't have had it, I would have been better off. But it's really, but if you have a munah, any experience you have is really come from Hashem. So you can really think, why is Hashem giving me this hard experience? If you act in it properly, you can actually flip it around to help you. So here's the first thing that happened to me. They bring me into a place called in South Dakota. Bring me into a prison, handcuff, feet cuff, the whole thing. Trying to, and what I wanted to be left alone. I went to trial. I said I wasn't guilty. I had two trials. I had a federal trial, a state trial. I won. Federal trial, I went the other way. And instead of giving me bail, instead of allowing me to go home, which typically happens in cases like this, they rather threw me to jail. They didn't give me any bail. And so I wound up suddenly separated from my family, alone, right? And they wanted to make you feel vulnerable. And the guy tells me, puts a box down. He tells me I got to take off all my clothes and put on the prison clothes. You have no choice. I have to put it on. But I took off my shirt and I realized I had my tzitzit under my shirt, right? So America is a great country, and America allows you to keep your religion even in the prison. It's the freedom of religion. So what happened is really amazing in that, looking back and seeing it as I was going through the fight, I really didn't feel it. But as looking back, I realized this Hashem was really with me every step of the way. Because what I want to do, I want to be left alone, give me my space. I want to think it through. How do I go further? I was hoping to win, and I go home, and this happened. How do I strengthen my trust in Hashem to go on further? Hashem would free me. Hashem ultimately did free me. They wanted me to be in prison for 27 years, and 8 years later, Hashem freed me suddenly. So I did get a miracle, but it took a whole experience. So here's the first experience was, I asked the guard, could I wear keep my tzitzit? Right? He told me you got to put everything in the box, and he says no, everything got to go in the box. So I thought maybe he doesn't know what tzitzit is. Maybe the kippah, he does know. So I asked him my kippah. He says, no, everything got to go in the box. So I was a little stunned. I figured if I'm going to explain him, what's going on, he would certainly let me keep it. So I started explaining him. I'm a Jewish man. A Jewish man keeps yarmulke and tzitzis. And I'm not, if you don't believe me, look in Code of Jewish law. I'm not telling you any stories. This is for real. I'm not supposed to walk without it. I don't want to walk without it. Part of bitachon means doing what Hashem wants. Hashem will do what you want. So I was really fighting to do what Hashem wants. But I was like low energy. It was low energy at that point. And the guy suddenly turns to me. This is a big, rowdy guy, and he tells me, "Listen, buddy," like he's threatening me. A lot of things are going to change for you tonight. So those words were intended to intimidate, right? Like, don't be a wise guy here. We're going to change you. But for me, it suddenly aroused an inner strength that I'm a little surprised at myself that I had, because we have a neshama. What makes us special? We have a neshama. We have a Jewish soul. And that Jewish soul always wants to be connected to Hashem. And suddenly he's telling me he's going to change me. Nobody wants to change. The Yitzhara comes to us, changes us slowly. But nobody wants to change. Nobody wants to change to a point, I'd not be Jewish anymore. I don't want to do that. And suddenly I realized that, look at them, they're throwing me in the prison, there's a bunch of non-Jewish people, and they want to make me not Jewish. I'm going to hold on to my Jewishness as much as I can. And that, suddenly I felt that energy come in, and I just exploded. I took a pause, and I thought what I'm going to do, and I prayed to Hashem to help me, and I told the guy, I am not taking it off. And in the strength that it took, I was a little surprised myself, but point is, Hashem did me the biggest favor by pushing me into this challenge, because here I suddenly woke up. I realized I gotta hold on, and this kept me going all 8 years. I always kept connected to Hashem. I always never felt alone. I always felt Hashem was with me, and I was able to pick myself up above it, like in jail. What do you think they do the whole day in jail? They're sitting, movies,
Read.
No, watching TV screens, watching screens, watching movies, listening to songs. Fighting, exercising, a lot of exercising going on there, physical.
Basketball?
A lot of basketball, a lot of exercising, everything physical. So if physically you're in jail, physical, no question, physically you're in jail, and if you focus on physical, then ultimately, let me tell you a story like this. They asked me a good question. Let me tell you a story like this. There was different people cruising through this. You had some people that sat there for hours, like I planted a tree. I planted a tree. I sat there for hours watching screens. I never watched. I decided I'm not watching no TV. I want to keep my head clear, so I never did that. I never bought. They had you bought a radio. That's with audio. Or later they gave MP3, and then they had the visual was the screens, right? So you had. There was one particular guy. He's trying to say a story. He's saying extremes. There's one particular guy there. I mean, he was 450, 500 pounds. I mean, the poor guy, he schlepped himself in there. And I mean, it was sad to look at this guy. I don't know, I guess he couldn't outrun the cops or something. He wound up. This guy, this poor guy would pull out 2 chairs in the morning, one on top of the other, I don't know. And then he'd sit down, and he had like 4 sleeves of these sandwich cookies. You know, sandwich cookies? He'd sit down, cookie for cookie. That was his daily life. He ate sheet after sheet of cookies and watching shows. I guess that's why I had all this weight on him, you know. He finished up his sheets of cookies. That was done. The day it was called it a day, and he left. I mean, something like that. Some guys, I said, sat like a bunch of potted plants, and they were watching television this whole day. Some guys, you can relate to a guy like that. Everybody sat down for hours. Everybody sat down for hours watching it. But this guy was particularly. Then you had other guys. That's how they went. Then other guys were making it through the system. Everything has a bleeding. Every day they were ready. There's a yard outside, and they went exercising. There was dumbbells over there. They started phasing it out, but whoever had it. Exercising, basketball, and they were there, and they sold everybody. And that's what they did a lot, running around, exercise. Few guys sat in the law library, and they were trying to learn all the laws of America and trying to figure out what they did. What did they, man?
Is there a schedule, or you do whatever you want?
So they put me in a high security type of place. They call it a medium, but it was high security. You could count 6 tiles this way and 8 tiles that way. That was the floor space of the cell they put me in. They locked the door at night. 2 guys, me and somebody else. They locked me in this every night from 9:30 to 7. And during the day for an hour when they counted, and sometimes more. And they had me, because it was a high security place. At night, everybody was locked in. They counted us every few hours. It was a high. So it's called a controlled movement place. So it means every hour, for the few hours in the day, they let you go out to exercise. And so okay, everybody moves on. So you had 5 minutes to get wherever you're going, and then shut it down. So like when I first got there, I looked at this place, you couldn't see a soul. You looked outside, building, but nobody was there. Of course, everybody's in buildings all the time, or in the yard certain hours of the day. Some guys used it, and the weather was good. They can run there, exercise, ran around. Then they had some guys who was in the law library. They were looking through the law. They were trying to figure out some guys, very few, but some guys succeeded in finding an angle, and they really had the money. They would make a pro se. They would put right into the court. This was wrong, that was wrong, and they're trying to get a way out of there, you know. And then they had a guy like me over there. I was busy serving Hashem. I learned, I davened, I was doing my thing.
They gave you a sitter?
Let's have books. Let's have books. Let's have, yeah. Yeah, they had a chapel there. They give you a few hours. So, yeah. So I have a lot of stories that when the county jails is a lot tougher. These jails, the cops pull you over and they pull you in. That's terrible. And because there, it's officially temporary and they do what they want. Like the story, they won't give me Amaka and Tzitzis. So he took me. They wind up putting me in solitary confinement because I wouldn't walk without it. And then finally I did get it back. But the lesson I learned that night was very simple. I learned, be a Jew, don't change. And this other lesson I want to tell you is that if a Jew has two parts, we have two parts to ourselves. We have a physical. We have to have a good life physically. We also have a spiritual side, the neshama. If you only focus on physical, that can get locked up. That'll lock you up. And then people get depressed and they take drugs and things. If you live with your spiritual, if you live with your neshama, you could be in a place called prison, but you don't feel the pain of prison that much. I always said I'm in a place called prison. I never identified myself as a prisoner. I never felt because my neshama is not in prison. How do I keep my neshama alive? By davening. Not all day, davening in the morning. I had my schedule of learning, So I felt attached to Hashem. I didn't feel the same pain. So here's a story I want to share with you. It gives it out pretty well. So I'm looking at the scene over. Each one was trying to deal with a prison life that way. This guy is a potted plant eating whatever. Other guys eat chips, sit and watch television all day. They weren't moving around. Other guys are moving around. So, what's freedom? What's freedom? What everybody wants to be free, right? Before you can decide what's freedom, you have to decide who you are. Then you can know what's freedom. For example, if you're a tree. I want to learn this in Yeshiva. If you're a tree, what makes a tree happy? Sunlight, water, and a good ground. That's all. They have to move around. You're happy. But use the same treatment for an animal. Take a cat, take a dog, take an animal, and put them tie him down to one spot and give him sunlight and give him water. But like in prison, don't let him move around. That's the most miserable animal can be. Why? How come a tree is happy and the animal's not happy? Why? It's a different type. Look, different type, huh?
The tree doesn't move. The cat needs to roam around.
Oh, a different type of life, huh?
Different lifestyle.
Lifestyle? No, a different type of life. The Ramban says, for example, this has a life of growing, so it doesn't have to move around, and the nefesh hachai has to have the ability to move around. Because it's not lifestyle. You can't teach a cat to enjoy being a tree. And if you take a tree and start moving it around, you're going to kill it. It works both ways. It depends what it is. If it's a tree, then it can be fully happy this way. If it's a living being, then it has to be able to move. Now, what happens if you're a person? I saw this. If you're a person, you have a brain. So what happens if you take a person and you cut from him off knowledge? I'm talking about a non-Jewish man. You got knowledge. Take a person, and you see it in America very much. All the pleasures you have, move around, you fly to the moon, fly to the stars, you can fly from country to country, you can move around, but stop learning, stop using your brain. And a lot of people today are messed up in America. They feel down, they feel depressed, they don't feel good, because they're not a human being has what's called a nefesh hamaskelas. He has a soul that can understand. If you're not going to use the part of understanding your brain, there's a part of you that's not functioning and it won't feel good. So if you follow this logic, if you're a Jew, because you're a Yid, you have a neshama. So you can't take a neshama and ignore it. You can't take a neshama and say, I'm not going to do a mitzvah. The other way around, because if by doing a mitzvah, it's like feeding your body. The neshama feels well. You allow the neshama to, and that's true freedom. So if you take a Yid and you give him good water, good air, you let him run around, but you don't let him do Jewish things. So he's going to feel like I'm in prison. There's a guy that tells stories. It actually works out very well. I used to always walk around my kippah, my tzitzit. This is you're talking about a lot of people do literally murderers, mafia. But you're talking about really, really rough guys there. Not everybody, but a lot. And no, it didn't bother me. It did not bother me. Every week, every so often, they were bringing new customers. The new prisoners come. And they'd come in. Yeah, the guys showed up, and they go up. The officers, the guy who was in charge of the building is sitting on the 4th floor, and they come. He tells them which cell they're going to be in or whatever. So there's a lineup of a few guys, and I'm doing my things a year and a half, 2 years later. I don't remember exactly the dates. And I walk by them, as I remember clearly. I walk by one particular guy, and he screams out loud, "Hey guys, look!" He's laughing at my tzitzit. He says, "The guy has string hanging out of his pants." So I had already walked by him, and I'm thinking to myself, for a year and a half, it's quiet. Nobody's picking on me. Nobody's beating me up. And here's new guys coming in. He's starting trouble. He's making fun of my tzitzit. What do? What would you do? Keep on walking as if nothing happens in the head, or turn around and face him down.
Ignore him.
What, you ignore him? Who said?
He's going to continue.
If I ignore him, he'll do it tomorrow.
All right.
Deal with it tomorrow. Okay. Anyways, that's the thing. Quick.
It's gonna be funny to him twice.
I don't know, but if he's looking for trouble. Anyways, Hashem pushed me the other way.
What's your reaction?
He's a little taller than me, this guy. I turned around. I said, I'm going to stop it right here. I turned around. Took back 2 steps, whatever it was. I said to the guy, "What's your problem?"
Tell me to stop.
I was waiting for the punch. Now what do? Instead, he said, "This is a story straight from Hashem." He says to me, No, I know that. I wasn't making fun of you, he tells me. And he starts thinking, I know what they are. They're tzitzit, right? And he said the word tzitzit like a Jewish boy. He was a Jew. He didn't look it. This kid grew up in Florida here, somewhere here. He told us. I pulled him to the side and asked him, "What's going on? You Jewish?" He says, "Yeah." He's a kid in Florida. That's how I got to know who he is. I never would have asked him. When I said, "Hey, excuse me," so that's Hashem showed me that he's a Jew. So I pulled him to the side, asked him, "Jewish?" He says, "Yeah." He went by name, by a nickname, whatever, Ghost, whatever. He's a very wild fellow, and he was in Talmud Torah. He's a wild fellow. He went out to the streets. Then he started getting into trouble. He became a gang member, and then he worked his way up to become a leader of some gang or something. Yeah, poor kid. And before he knew it, he was in jail. I got to be careful. You can't, whatever he was doing. I don't know whatever he was doing, but I'm sure he didn't visualize himself in the streets. He wound up doing whatever he was doing, and you have to watch the law. And he wound up in a prison or somewhere for 10 years. And now he was coming out. Like he had a year left, 2 years left. So he brought him to the prison where I was there. Hashem wanted me to meet him. So now that I know he's Jewish, of course, I asked him the next day if he wants to learn, if he wants to put on film. I befriended him, he befriended me. And here's a story which you can really see what I'm telling you is very real. So this guy obviously was as wild as always was. Nothing happened. But he allowed himself time from time to time, sit down with me to put on film, talk, learn. He can read. He remembered. There was a little memory, but he was able to read back. And we had a good time together, and I got to like him, he got to like me, and we had a lot of conversation. And so I would try to find him every single day and try to say, "You want to put on film?" He didn't know what to put on film. Sometimes he said, "Yeah," he says, "Rabbi, I'm very busy today." Busy. Where are you busy? Where are you going? A meeting to go to? You have a telephone call, a conference call? He's busy. It's I got him for the day. Okay, so that was it. But here's the point. One day he walks in. I'm sitting in the cell. I never saw him before because he was leaving grades. He didn't care about a job. He didn't care about much anything. He's go exercise. And comes into the cell and says, "Rabbi, good morning." I gave a look at him. He really looked at this guy. This guy looked like he was under the weather big time. He looked it's not scared. He looked like yeah. He was like he didn't sleep at night. I didn't sleep the whole night. He didn't. He says, "Rabbi, you have a minute?" I said, "Sure." And I know this is a tough guy, and suddenly he looks like that. I said, "What's going on?" I thought maybe somebody passed away. That's what I thought. Maybe some of his family, he got some bad news, and he really felt terrible. So I wanted to be with him. So I said, "What's happening? What's going on?" She says, "I'll tell you what happened." No, he says, "I want to put on film." That was a shock of my life. He never came to ask me to put on film. He came to put on film. So I said, "Sure, put on film with you, but why do you look the way you look? You look terrible. You look like you didn't sleep for a few nights." He said, "Yes." A few days ago, they called him into the office and they told him, they gave him a date when he's leaving. They told him, and in prison, when you get told when you're leaving, there's a whole big to do. They don't even tell you when. Nobody will share you the date because it's like other guys are jealous. You're leaving, they'll put water on your head. I mean, there's a crazy place over there. So he confided in me. They told him he's leaving in 2 weeks, whatever. And so I was very happy for him. I said, Mazel Tov. So come to Shul, Shabbos, make a Kiddush. He looked terrible. What do you? So he says, don't laugh. He says, I'm thinking, now I'm leaving. Of course I want to leave, but what's going to be my life going forward? Who's going to hire me now? Because there's a record. Once you go into jail, it's not going to jail is half of the problem. Then you get out of jail, then the stupid record follows you. Who's going to hire me? Who's going to want to be with me? I don't want to go back to the life I had before. Understand? So he fell into a stage of anxiety. He said, I try to fall asleep at night. I can't fall asleep. And 5 minutes later, I fall asleep. I get 5 minutes later, and I can't fall back asleep. So what do? He came to put on the film. That's the amazing part that happened here. That's what got me most. So why? Why come put on film? He knew how the thing works in prison. He knows that if you can't fall asleep at night, you go to they have 6 psychiatrists over there. 7. He said, a whole list of psychiatrists, because it's very hard on a person. You go to a psychiatrist, you tell them you can't fall asleep, they give you a medication, and everybody wants the medication anyways. They came to prison because they were dealing in drugs, now they're getting drugs. It's a crazy world over there. There's a whole pill line at night, waiting for drugs. So he didn't do that. He did not go to get drugs. He was looking for calmness. Obviously, I want to tell you, obviously the point is, over the last 8-9 months I knew him, and him coming from time to time and doing a mitzvah and learning, during those moments he had to feel a certain sense of tranquility, of closeness to Hashem, that a person feels when he does a mitzvah, and that's what he's looking for. That's the calmness he was looking for. So now when he got anxious and he came to do a mitzvah. So I learned a tremendous lesson here. You understand what I'm telling you? We're Jewish people. We have in the Shem, we have connected Hashem. Let's use it. Fakert, when I do a mitzvah is not just a command. Mitzvah has the expression safsuk, a connection. Mitzvah means a connection. Hashem asks me to do something. I do it. I'm connected. I have now a connection with Him. That's what mitzvah really is. A mitzvah is an opportunity for you to have a moment to connect with the power of life, of pleasure. And it's like you're eating food. When a baby gets born, I got to finish with this thought. I'll keep you all day. When a baby gets born, think about it. You ever see kids when they get born? They start crying, and why they're crying? They're hungry. But the kid doesn't know what food is. The kid just knows it has an empty feeling in the stomach, it doesn't feel right, it cries. The mother knows, hey, the baby's hungry, feeds the baby calms down. This happens every 4 hours. Few months, the kid figures out this discomfort is satisfied by food. Okay, so now instead of crying, the kid will point to the food and give it. This is what happened with the ghost. To a certain degree. We sometimes feel anxious in life, you don't feel fulfilled, we have our problems, we just don't feel right. It could very well be that the shaman needs a little bit of food, the spiritual food, that's what we need. And then this guy came to get that spiritual food, that's why he came that morning. We sat, we talked, I gave him some names. But the point is that mitzvah is a spiritual food for neshama. When our neshama is satisfied, that's part of our satisfied feeling that we feel right. So Hashem bless everybody here, success in whatever you're doing, and stay out of jail. Not a good place.
Any questions, guys? You want to ask?
Yeah,